Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something really fundamental to how organizations get things done.
That's right. We're talking value stream management and value stream mapping.
Exactly. Whether it's, making a physical product or delivering some kind of service, think of this as a way to get the big picture view.
See how work really flows.
Yeah, spot those hidden jams, the inefficiencies, and the payoff. Well, it can mean better efficiency, lower costs, and definitely happier customers.
Which is always the goal.
Right, absolutely. So we've gone through a bunch of articles, some video transcripts too, all about these concepts.
And we've tried to pull out the key stuff for you.
Right, without getting bogged down in, heavy jargon. Our mission today is pretty simple. Give you a clear idea of what these things are, why they matter, and what they can actually do for a business.
Okay, sounds good. Where should we start? With the management side.
Yeah, let's start there. Value stream management.
Okay, so what really struck me is how both of these ideas, management and mapping, they're trying to fix the same core issue, making things, flow better.
Right.
And value stream management, at its core, it's about having a specific person focused on that flow, the value stream manager.
Okay, so like an orchestrator.
Yeah, kind of like the chief orchestrator for operations.
Yeah.
Making sure materials, information, all of it moves smoothly from the very beginning, like raw materials.
All the way to the customer getting the finished thing.
Exactly, that whole journey.
So it's definitely not about different departments just doing their own thing in isolation.
No, it breaks down those silos. It's about seeing how it all connects.
And it sounds like a big piece of what that manager does is kind of like being a detective.
Yeah, a process detective. That's a good way to put it. They're analyzing data, looking for those spots where things get stuck or slowed down.
The bottlenecks and the waste.
Right. Identifying them and then, crucially, figuring out how to eliminate them, making the whole process smoother.
Okay, and does this focus just stay inside the company walls?
Well, no, that's another key point from the sources. The value stream manager looks beyond the internal stuff, too.
Ah, okay.
They're concerned with how things flow between all the players. Your supplier is bringing in materials.
Manufacturing teams, logistics, moving stuff around.
Yeah, right down to the customer experience at the end. They're managing that whole chain, really.
Wow, okay. That sounds like it requires a pretty diverse skill set.
Definitely. The materials we looked at really stress that it's not just technical know-how.
Right.
You need strong leadership. Communication is huge, obviously, bringing different teams together.
Makes sense. You need to get everyone pulling in the same direction.
And strategic thinking, seeing that big picture. But also, they need to be analytical,
Yeah.
able to really pinpoint the root causes when things go wrong.
And flexible, I bet. Adaptable.
Absolutely crucial. Because, operations rarely go exactly to plan, do they?
Tell me about it. Things change.
Precisely. And that adaptability ties into how they use new tools and tech.
Okay. Like what sort of things?
Things like automation, digitalization, using data analytics more effectively. The sources mention these quite a bit.
So not just buzzwords, but actual tools to help manage that flow.
Exactly. Powerful tools. Think about using data analytics to maybe predict a supply chain delay before it even hits.
Oh, interesting. Proactive.
Or using automation for those repetitive tasks that don't really add direct value. That frees people up for more important strategic work.
Yeah, I can see how getting this right could have some really big benefits.
For sure.
You mentioned boosting efficiency, cutting out waste and delays. That leads pretty directly to lower costs, right?
Absolutely. Less wasted time, fewer resources used unnecessarily.
And ultimately, if things run smoother and faster, your customers are going to notice.
Definitely happier customers. And the sources even suggest, that doing this well can give a company a real leg up on the competition.
A competitive edge. Okay, so that's the management angle. The person, the role, the strategy.
Right.
Now let's flip the coin. Value stream mapping. What's that all about?
So think of value stream mapping as creating a visual story.
A story.
Yeah, a story of how your product or service actually gets to the customer. It's basically a very detailed flowchart.
Okay.
It shows every single step, not just moving physical stuff, but also how the information flows alongside it.
And what's the main point of drawing this all out?
The main goal is to see the waste, to visually identify and then figure out how to get rid of all those activities that chew up resources but don't actually add any value from the customer's perspective.
Okay, so it's like a diagnostic tool almost. You map it out to see what's really going on.
Exactly. It's about getting a diagram of all the moving parts, yeah. But specifically highlighting where things get bogged down or where there are steps that maybe aren't even necessary.
And the materials mention a two-stage process, current state then future state.
That's right. First, you create what's called the current state map.
Which is just how things are right now.
Precisely, warts and all. Drawing out the process exactly as it operates today. No sugarcoating.
Okay. And why is starting there so important?
Because that current state map gives everyone a common baseline. It shows the reality of the process, not just what people think is happening or what the procedure manual says should be happening.
Right. Gets everyone on the same page about the actual problems.
Exactly. And with that visual, it becomes much easier for the whole team to collectively spot those areas of waste.
Like what? What kind of waste typically shows up?
Oh, things like excessive inventory just sitting there, piles of stuff waiting,
Yeah.
or steps in the process that when you look closely don't really contribute anything useful.
Or just waiting time, delays.
Big time. Those frustrating periods where work just stops and waits for the next step. That's a huge one. Okay, so you map the current mess, find the waste, then what?
Then comes the future state map. This is where you design the ideal flow.
Ah, the after picture. Exactly. How the process could operate, how you want it to operate, once you've eliminated that waste you identified. It's the streamlined, efficient version you're aiming for.
And is this just conceptual, or are there specific ways to draw these maps?
Well, it's quite specific, actually. The mapping process uses a standardized set of symbols. Often uses colors, too,
Symbols for what?
to represent different types of steps: processing, waiting, moving inventory, information flow. And crucially, it includes data, like how long each step takes, how much inventory is held, things like that.
So it makes it very concrete, very visual.
Anyone can look at the map and understand, okay, here's where we're losing time, or here's where information gets stuck, and they can see the potential improvements in the future state map.
And the ultimate goal is obviously to make that future state the new reality.
That's the whole point, turning that vision into how things actually work day to day, leading to a much more effective operation.
Okay, it makes sense as a tool. But why is this mapping process considered so, I guess, fundamental or important?
Well, a huge reason, something our sources really hammered home, is that it forces you to take that holistic end-to-end view.
Right, not just looking at one small piece.
Exactly. You're seeing the entire value stream, from the very first trigger, maybe a customer order.
All the way to the final delivery.
Right. And that big picture view often reveals bottlenecks or inefficiencies that are totally invisible if you're just focused on your own little part of the process.
Like seeing the whole traffic pattern from a helicopter instead of just the car in front of you.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
You see where the real jams are forming, not just the symptom you're experiencing.
And this isn't just for factories making widgets, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. That's a really critical point. The materials made it clear this applies across the board.
So, healthcare, retail, office work.
Yep. Manufacturing, healthcare, retail, software development, even administrative processes in an office. Anywhere there's a flow of work, materials, information to deliver something of value.
You can map it.
You can map it. The principles of identifying flow and eliminating waste are pretty universal.
Plus, it seems like just the act of mapping together would improve things, like communication.
Definitely. It creates a common language.
Yeah.
When everyone's looking at the same visual map, using the same symbols.
Everyone understands the process and the problems in the same way.
Exactly. It gets everyone on the same page. It helps align goals, makes it easier to prioritize which improvements to tackle first.
And because it's based on, the actual current state data,
It supports making decisions based on facts, not just gut feelings or opinions.
which leads back to those tangible results we talked about.
Right. Higher productivity, lower costs, better customer satisfaction. It all connects.
Okay, let's maybe circle back to those key benefits then. We've touched on a few, but let's maybe dig a bit deeper based on the sources. Improved efficiency, lower costs, we've covered those. What else really stands out?
Well, improved quality is a big one.
How so?
By streamlining the process, removing unnecessary steps, making things flow smoother, you just inherently reduce the chances for errors or defects to creep in. Simpler process, less room for mistakes.
Makes sense. Fewer handoffs, fewer opportunities to drop the ball.
Exactly. And then there's the direct reduction of waste itself. The sources define waste pretty broadly, anything consuming resources without adding customer value.
So wasted time, materials, effort.
All of it. Mapping helps you see it clearly and then target it for elimination.
And lead time, that was another one, right? The total time from order to delivery.
Yes, huge benefit.
Yeah.
By optimizing flow, cutting out those waiting periods you see on the map, You can often drastically shorten the overall lead time.
Which, again, customers love. Faster is usually better.
Absolutely. And tied closely to that is reducing inventory.
Ah, okay, because things are flowing better.
Right. If the process is efficient, you don't need huge piles of raw materials waiting or lots of finished goods sitting on a shelf. Things move through more quickly.
Which saves space, saves money tied up in that inventory.
Exactly. Reduces storage costs, management costs, risk of obsolescence, and finally, as we mentioned, it's just incredibly good at highlighting the bottlenecks.
Those pinch points where everything slows down?
Precisely. The map makes them visually obvious.
Yeah.
You can see, this step is where things are consistently getting backed up. Then you know exactly where to focus your improvement efforts for the biggest impact.
Okay, so pulling this all together, value stream management is kind of the strategic oversight, the role focus on the whole flow,
Right, the manager driving the optimization.
while value stream mapping is the practical tool, the visual method, to actually see that flow, find the problems, the waste,
And design a better future state. Chart the course for improvement.
and ultimately both are aiming for that same sweet spot. More efficiency, lower costs, and happier customers.
That sums it up pretty well. Better flow equals better results, essentially.
So a final thought then, maybe something for you listening to chew on.
Yeah, think about the processes you deal with every day. Could be at work, could be managing stuff at home, even just, running errands.
Where do you see chances to apply these ideas? Where are the bottlenecks in your own life or work?
What unnecessary steps are slowing things down? What waste might be hiding there in plain sight, just waiting to be streamlined?
Interesting perspective. Applying it to everyday life. Where could things flow better for you?